George Washington, soldier, statesman, and the first president of the United States. His story begins long before the Revolution, with a boy growing up in the wild lands of Virginia. George Washington was born in 1732 on a quiet plantation in Virginia. He grew up surrounded by nature, hard work, and family life. Life on the plantation taught George responsibility. He learned discipline, patience, and the importance of helping others. As a teenager, Washington became a land surveyor. He explored deep forests, climbed rocky hills, and learned to understand the land. Even at 16, Washington showed early leadership. He guided others with confidence, and people around him quickly learned to trust his judgment. In his early 20s, Washington joined the military. His discipline, calm focus, and sense of duty quickly earned him the respect of the men around him. War was harsh. Washington learned quickly that courage alone wasn't enough. He needed strategy, patience, and the ability to guide others through fear and uncertainty. When the American colonies rose up against British rule, they needed a leader they could trust. George Washington was chosen to command the Continental Army, stepping into a challenge unlike anything he had faced before. The winter was unforgiving. Washington's soldiers faced freezing temperatures, hunger, and exhaustion. Yet through every hardship, he stayed beside them, giving strength when hope was running low. Despite the hardships, Washington never lost faith. His calm leadership helped his soldiers believe that victory was still possible, even when the odds were against them. The impossible became reality. The American forces had not as a conqueror, but as a humble leader who had guided his people through one of the hardest struggles in their history. On a bright spring day in 1789, George Washington stepped forward to lead a nation still discovering who it wanted to be. As Washington took the oath, he wasn't just accepting a title. He was defining what leadership in a new republic should look like. With the oath behind him, Washington stepped into a role no one had held before. Every decision he made now would shape the foundation of a brand new government. To unite the young nation, Washington traveled from town to town, meeting the people he now served. His presence brought reassurance to citizens who had never before seen a president. In the first months of his presidency, Washington faced decisions that would shape the entire future of the United States. Every choice he made set a precedent no leader had ever faced before. Washington didn't just lead the nation, he built its foundations. Under his guidance, the first federal courts were created, the national bank was proposed, and the structure of the executive branch took shape. Once the framework was in place, Washington focused on making it work. Departments began their daily tasks, laws were enforced, and the federal government transformed from plans on paper into a living system serving the people. Hamilton believed the nation needed a strong central government and a national bank to survive. Jefferson feared that too much power in one place would threaten the freedom they had just fought for. Their visions for America could not have been more different. Hamilton pushed for industry, credit, and national strength. Jefferson fought for local power, simple government, and a nation of independent farmers. Hamilton believed the nation needed strong finances and a unified economy. Jefferson feared that too much central power would weaken the freedom of the states. Hamilton argued that a national bank would give the country stability and respect abroad. Jefferson warned that such power could drift toward tyranny if left unchecked. Washington reminded them that the nation was still fragile. If its leaders could not stand together, the government they had built might not survive. As Europe fell into war, France expected America to join the fight. Washington knew the young nation was too fragile to be pulled into another conflict. Hamilton urged neutrality to protect America's economy. Jefferson argued that the nation owed France support for helping win independence. Washington listened, weighing the cost of every choice. Washington chose a different path. By declaring neutrality, he kept America out of Europe's wars, giving the young nation time to grow strong. To pay off the nation's war debt, the government taxed whiskey. For frontier farmers, whiskey was more than a drink. It was income, trade, and survival. The tax felt like a distant government reaching too far. Protests turned into threats. Threats turned into violence. The frontier erupted, and the young government faced its first true test of authority. Washington chose to lead the militia himself. His presence alone sent a message. The new government would enforce its laws, but with discipline and restraint. When Washington arrived, the rebellion had vanished. His leadership ended the crisis without bloodshed, proving that the government was strong, but not cruel. After 8 years as president, Washington made a choice that would define American democracy. He would step down, proving that leadership meant service, not power. Washington warned the nation about dangers he saw rising. He feared political parties would divide Americans. He cautioned against foreign alliances that could pull the country into conflicts it could not survive. With a steady hand, Washington completed his farewell. It was more than a letter, it was a final lesson in leadership. As the sun rose, Washington stepped away from power with quiet dignity. His example would guide every president who followed. Time moved on, but the traces of Washington's life remained, reminders of a man who shaped a nation from fragile beginnings. The places where Washington once walked grew silent, but the choices he made continued to echo through the nation he helped build. America moved forward, shaped by the principles he defended: unity, liberty, and the belief that a free people could govern themselves. As the nation grew, Americans looked back to Washington's example, his discipline, his restraint, his belief that the people, not the powerful, were the heart of the republic. Nations rise, generations change, but the ideals Washington fought for, courage, unity, and the promise of a free people, continue to guide the journey forward.
And so his story ends, not with a crown, not with a throne, but with a legacy carried by millions.